Sup guys, my name is Courtney Budzyn and this is What's for Din. Today I'm going to be showing you an all-time favorite. I'm going to show you how to make banana cream pie. Oh, it's so good, and I know I was going to share a lot of healthy recipes, but you need at least one day to cheat, and this, if you want to cheat, this is the way to do it. This is creamy, delicious, and so easy to make. Forget the instant pudding, throw it in the garbage because this is top-notch, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. You're going to need some whole milk, granulated sugar, all-purpose flour, egg yolks, some butter, vanilla extract, and of course, bananas. Now, I don't know why these are so huge. They're organic, but for some reason they're super big. Usually a normal banana is like about this size, so you'll probably need like 3 or 4. In my case, I'll probably use like 2.5. And also you're gonna need a pie crust. Now I already made this. This is my recipe. If you want a video on how to make your own pie crust, just click on the card that's at the top of the screen. And I already pre-baked this. You have to blind bake your crust because we're making a custard filling. So real quick, I'm gonna show you what I did. All I did was take my pie crust, roll it out, and then put it in my pie pan. And you can crimp the edges into whatever shape you want to. And then once you have that done, go ahead and throw it in the freezer because you want that butter to set really well. So 10 to 15 minutes in the freezer. And then when you take it out, you're gonna wanna take a piece of parchment paper, crumble it up so that it's easier to lay inside of your pie. And then you're gonna wanna fill it with either dried beans or rice, and I like it to come up pretty high, so almost at the top of the pie pan. And then we're going to throw it in the oven at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes. Then you're going to want to take it out and then take out the seeds, put the pie crust back in the oven for an additional 6 to 10 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. And that's all you got to do. So the hardest step is done, so we're going to go ahead and go over to the stove and make our custard. I have a medium-sized pot here, and I don't have any heat on yet because what we're gonna do is combine our flour and sugar together. Give that a good mix so everything's evenly incorporated. Now we're gonna go ahead and add our milk and give that a good mix until everything's evenly incorporated together. So now that it's nice and mixed, we're gonna go ahead and turn our heat on about medium-high, and we're gonna slowly bring this up to a boil, and you want it to be boiling hot. So just bring it up to a simmer, and we'll go on to the next step. So you can see my mixture has started to bubble. So you wanna keep stirring it vigorously. You don't want it to burn to the bottom, but once it starts to bubble, you wanna cook it for another 2 minutes just to get that raw flour taste out. So it's been cooking for 2 minutes, and what I'm gonna do is just set this aside on my back burner because I don't want it to be too hot. Now we're gonna move on to tempering the eggs, and I know this seems scary, but trust me, it's not as hard as people make it out to be. So what I do is I take about half a cup of my filling, and the trick is to slowly whisk it into your eggs. Very slowly, just drizzling it and vigorously working it in because you want to gradually raise the temperature of those eggs. You don't want to add it all at once because then you risk scrambling it. And I like to start off with room temperature egg yolks. That way it's not going from cold to hot. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this right in the pot that we got it from. We're going to turn the heat back on our burner on about medium, and we're going to pour that in and mix that in. And keep whisking it and cook it for an additional 5 minutes. And you want to bring it to a simmer again so that the custard will set once you put it in the pie crust. It's almost done. So at this point, I'm going to add my vanilla and my butter. Give that a good stir until the butter is melted and the vanilla is fully incorporated. Okay, my butter is melted, my vanilla is incorporated, so we're going to turn off the heat and we're going to transfer this through a sieve to a glass bowl. And I just pass it through a sieve to make sure that there's no clumps. And you can see I didn't have any clumps at all, which is really good. Just gonna scrape everything off the bottom of the sieve. So I'm gonna let this cool for a couple of minutes before I put the plastic wrap on because I don't wanna melt the plastic wrap, but you wanna make sure the plastic wrap is touching the custard, otherwise it'll develop some weird skin. And then in the meantime, we can take it over to our table and we're gonna assemble the bananas, and then once it's cooled, add it in, and then we'll be good to go. So let's go. Let's go. So our custard is now cooling, and now we're gonna move on to chopping up our bananas. Now, as you can see, I'm not using a brown banana. It still has a little bit of green at the top. You want that because you want them to be nice and firm, and you don't want them to be mushy as if you're gonna use it for like a banana bread. So when I cut them, I just cut off the ends, and I like to cut them sort of thin, and I like to do them in that long shape like that. So my bananas are all chopped up and my custard has cooled slightly. You do not want it to cool completely because if it cools completely, it's gonna set on you and that will not work. So what I'm gonna do, my pie crust, like I said, is already done. I'm gonna take just a spoonful of the custard and put it on the bottom before I add my bananas because I just like everything to be even. Just smear that around the bottom. And now we're gonna start adding our bananas. You wanna fill as much with the bananas as possible. You don't want a lot of space in between, and I find this is the best way to do it. So I have my first layer of bananas down. So I'm going to add a little bit of my custard, not all of it. Smear it over them. Add the rest of your bananas. Got my second layer done, so now I'm gonna add the rest of the custard and make sure you get all of it out of your bowl because you do not wanna waste any of this, trust me. Make sure everything is nice and covered. So now all we have to do is let this set in the fridge, and I'm gonna let it set for about 4 hours. You can do it 4 hours to overnight, but I'm gonna do it for 4 hours just because I'm too impatient and I wanna eat it. And then we'll top it with whipped cream and then you're ready to serve. So 4 hours in the fridge minimum, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I may have fibbed a little bit. I decided to leave it in the refrigerator overnight because some things came up that I had to take care of. And I went ahead and topped it with some freshly made whipped cream and some chocolate spirals and some more bananas just for decoration. And you can really cake on the whipped cream if you want, or you can just leave it as is with no whipped cream. But it's better with whipped cream. Also, don't mind me. I'm in my cozy clothes, and I am ready to dig in. And I don't care what I look like when I'm doing it. I always like to cut 2 pieces first because it's always hard to get the first piece out for some reason, unless you cut 2. Oh, look at that. So good. Oh, you have no idea. So if you want to remake this recipe, just look below in the description box. I'll leave all the measurements and the written instructions. And if you did like this video, don't forget to smack that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe because I have many more recipes to come and I wouldn't want you to miss out on anything. So as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time. Bye. So good.